60 people in designer gowns were sipping champagne on my dock. My dock like they'd paid for the view, like they'd hammered in the post themselves back in 1987. The string quartet was playing something soft and expensive, the bride was laughing for the camera, and I was standing in my kitchen holding a mug of coffee thinking, well, funny how unsafe dock conditions suddenly become safe when it's your daughter's Instagram moment on the line. And the best part? The woman who condemned my dock slapped it with fines, orange tags, and dramatic caution tape like it was a crime scene was out there smiling for photos under a $100,000 wedding tent. Her name is Delilah Thornbridge, and she picked the wrong marine engineer to bully. I'm Meredith Chen Williams. I'm 52, divorced, former marine biologist turned environmental consultant. I moved to Lake Serenity after my marriage imploded in a way that made a toddler's spaghetti tantrum look organized. I wanted quiet, water, space, something solid I could trust. The cottage came with nearly an acre, practically an estate in this neighborhood of postage stamp lots, and a hand-built dock that had survived hurricanes since Reagan was in office. The previous owner, sweet old Mrs. Kowalski, sold it to me because I promised I wouldn't tear it down for some glass and steel monstrosity. Her late husband built that dock with his own hands. It wasn't just wooden bolts, it was history. It was also my livelihood. I use it for water quality testing across 3 states. And here's the irony, I spent 30 years designing offshore platforms. I know exactly how much load that dock can handle. I know its stress tolerances, its buoyancy ratings, its failure points. I know it better than most people know their own children. Then Delilah moved in. Picture bleach blonde perfection. White Mercedes with vanity plates that might as well have read Queen HOA and a smile sharp enough to slice glass. 3 weeks after I finished unpacking, the first violation notice showed up. Unapproved dock modifications, $500 fine. The dock hadn't been modified since Bush Sr. I brought permits. She sent another notice. Excessive algae growth, $300. Algae, on a lake dock. That's when Mrs. Patterson, 78, sharper than anyone gave her credit for, leaned over the fence one morning and whispered the real story. Delilah's husband was quietly buying waterfront properties through shell companies, harass the owners, tank their finances, scoop up the land at 60 cents on the dollar. My deep water access was the last piece they needed for a luxury condo project. The fines escalated, mandatory inspections, condemnation tags, a demand for a certified engineer, her brother-in-law, to evaluate it for $3,500. I hired my own engineer. Dock exceeded safety standards by 40%. That should have ended it. It didn't. She started hitting my income. Anonymous calls to my clients questioning my legal troubles. 3 contracts canceled in 1 week. Then fake complaints to the county. Then this one almost made me laugh, a fabricated EPA letter accusing me of running a hazardous waste facility. I called a contact at the real EPA. The letter was fake. Federal mail fraud. She'd escalated into felony territory. And then she crossed a line I didn't expect. She had me arrested. Environmental terrorism. I was taken in wearing coffee-stained pajamas for collecting pH samples. By dinner, federal investigators were asking the sheriff some very pointed questions about false affidavits and harassment. Charges dropped. News cameras already rolling. Delilah thought she'd humiliate me. Instead, she'd handed me leverage. At the next HOA meeting, I brought documentation, shell companies, financial links, fake inspector conflicts, and then the real bomb: diverted HOA funds used to finance the harassment campaign. The room shifted. Her allies went pale. Mrs. Patterson stood and motioned for Delilah's removal pending investigation. Unanimous. Delilah stormed out like a queen being escorted from her throne. But here's the twist nobody saw coming, including me. A week later, while digging through county archives for more evidence, I stumbled on the original 1967 Clearwater Cove Waterfront Preservation Trust documents, a federal conservation easement protecting the entire shoreline from commercial development. Permanent, untouchable, no condos, no resort, nothing within 200 feet of the water. Every property, including mine, including the 12 Delilah's husband had bought. They'd spent millions assembling land for a project that federal law made impossible from day one. And buried in that easement was a clause protecting environmental research and granting authority to restrict commercial interference. My dock wasn't just mine. It was federally protected conservation infrastructure. That's when Mrs. Patterson dropped the final piece. Delilah had been asking around about dock rentals. Her daughter Brittany needed the perfect waterfront venue for Labor Day weekend. My dock. Now here's the thing about that dock. When Mr. Kowalski built it in '87, he included a hurricane safety feature, a detachable outer platform designed to separate under excessive load, 4 marine-grade quick-release pins, redundant activation systems. It was meant to prevent catastrophic failure during storms. Or, say, if 87 wedding guests crowded onto the outer edge for golden hour photos. I tested the mechanism with sandbags, smooth as butter. Wedding day arrived like a parade. Caterers, florists, white silk tent, string quartet, 87 people in formal wear standing exactly where structural load calculations said they shouldn't. Federal investigators already building a case against Delilah for fraud and conspiracy happened to be monitoring compliance that weekend. At 4:17 p.m. during the cake-cutting photo op, I activated the emergency separation protocol. There's a small metallic click when 60-year-old engineering does exactly what it was designed to do. The outer dock section drifted away slow at first. Elegant even. Like a lazy parade float carrying one very expensive wedding into open water. For 3 seconds, nobody noticed. Then someone said, "Why are we moving?" The screaming started. The bride's beaded gown hit the water first. Silk tent collapsed. Champagne flutes tipped. Guests clutched each other in horror as the platform floated serenely 20 feet offshore. Nobody was in danger. It was stable, buoyant, designed that way. But panic doesn't care about design specs. Delilah screamed at me from the remaining dock, "Bring them back!" I sipped my coffee. Unauthorized commercial use of federally protected conservation property, I called out. Emergency safety protocol activated. An EPA agent stepped forward with credentials. Chaos turned into paperwork. Water rescue boats ferried guests back one by one, soaked and furious. News cameras captured everything. Federal citations issued on the spot. 6 months later, Delilah was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison for mail fraud, financial misconduct, and conspiracy. Her husband paid millions in fines. The HOA dissolved. A conservation association replaced it. And here's the part that still surprises me. Brittany came back after the divorce, after the humiliation. She enrolled in environmental restoration studies. She sat with me on that same dock one morning and said, "I never asked where the perfect venue came from." That line stuck with me. Because that's the thing about power and entitlement, it feeds on silence, on people not asking questions, on assuming someone else will handle it. Most bullies don't think they're villains. They think they're entitled, protected, untouchable, until they float 20 feet offshore in front of federal agents. I won't pretend I didn't enjoy that moment. Watching designer gowns soak through, watching Delilah realize physics and federal law don't care about vanity plates. But the real victory wasn't the splash. It was the paperwork. It was the dusty 1967 document nobody thought to check. The quiet legal protection sitting there for 55 years while corruption strutted around in heels. The lake's cleaner now. The community's stronger. There's a scholarship fund for environmental science funded by restitution money. And every morning I drink my coffee on that dock and listen to the water instead of violation notices. So here's what I'm curious about. Where's the line between justice and revenge? If someone weaponizes power to destroy you, do you owe them mercy when you finally hold the leverage? Would you have pulled the pins? I want to hear your take. Was it justice karma, or did I go too far? And if you've ever faced your own neighborhood tyrant, what did you do about it? Tell me your story.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.